Hey homies, what's up? Ryan Wynn here with a special episode of Late Night Inks. Instead of giving you helpful tips and hopeful inspiration, I'm going to show you a page of inks that will make you want to put down your nib forever. In this episode, we're going to look at a page of The Darkness by Mark Silvestri and Danny Miki. Let's have a look.
Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rules, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna hold us back now. Straight ahead and on the track now. Gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way.
Alright, so let's start with what we're working on and what we're working with. So this is 4-ply Bristol board. This is some pretty heavy duty stuff. Now this was originally made by, boom, you see it there? Image Comics. Image used to have their own Strathmore board printed up for the boys and girls. This is from the January 97 batch. And as you can see here, this is The Darkness, issue 12, page 9. Pencils by Mark Silvestri, inks by Danny Miki. I think Danny's wife Shannon did that. It looks like her writing. She helped him organize everything. And this is cool. This is his kanji stamp for his family name. And if you look at it sideways, I can't turn the camera right now. It kind of looks like Mickey. So that's kind of interesting. And if you turn this sideways, it says Crime Lab Inkworks. Now that was the name of his studio right before I joined, a couple years before I joined. It was Crime Lab Studios. Which leads me to how I got this page, which was, it was gifted to me for my birthday from Danny. I was an assistant of his and then a studio mate, and he knew how much I liked Mark Silvestri and how much I liked this page. Now, what are we working with? Most likely some type of speedball ink, maybe rapidograph back then, and definitely a Hunt 102 nib. Now, Danny is very good at layering hair. It would have been there in the pencils with Mark, but you have to be a master craftsman with your nib in order to get the flow of the hair right, the layers and the shadows. I love the cast shadows he put on both of these characters' necks as well. No hatching there, just let that directional line of their neck do the work. And I love this guy's hair. Look at those confident lines. Now, in the other episodes where I show you guys how to practice, all those practice lines come into play on a page like this. But instead of doing dozens of the same line in a row, you're breaking it up, one or two at a time here. Now, something Danny has always been great at. This is a very simple version, but these are called dits. These sort of background tones, cross-hatching patterns, just sort of meant to gray away in the background. There's a little bit of white out there, but Danny's also really good at breaking up his lines organically as he's working. And it's funny, there's always been people trying to copy what he does, and they end up, breaking these lines even, like these contour lines, doing all that after the fact, trying to make it look like Danny's, where he just has a way of bouncing his line around the figures and breaking them at the right spot and having those broken lines sort of meet up. Like you could almost imagine the lines in between that. But it creates sort of a kinetic energy with the characters. Look at that hand. I love the way that hand looks. Such a classic Silvestri hand which sort of also is a Neil Adams hand. If you study old Neil Adams stuff, you'll see a lot of, and Frazetta, you'll see a lot of their work in Silvestri. So he always does great female faces and eyes. Actually, he does great everything, but this is something he's really well known for. Let's go and take a closer look. Get it focused. Look at that tiny rendering that Danny did on there. For scale, let's use the pen that he used for that. You can see how thin those little lines are. And then he'll let that dry, and you go back in and do those cross hatches. Same with this section here. You'll do these long ones. You probably did these little lines that sort of hint, these ones here and these here, they sort of hint at the skull and the musculature of the eye. And then these long lines going across, those sort of hint at the depth, a little bit of shading. And then this little crosshatch here is the transition. Look at these great little lines. Nowadays, Danny would probably use 90, 95, 100% brush on a page like this. This was mostly nib, Hunt 102. He's a serious master with the tool. Alright, look at that. Now, when I started working for Danny and Joe and John Levesey, you did backgrounds first. And I started working for Danny Miki, so I learned how to do all this stuff. So years later, when I started working with Joe Weems and Levesey, they were having a ball having me do all the backgrounds because I was pretty good at everything. Now, I didn't touch this page. This is years, probably 3-4 years, no, maybe just 2 or 3 years before I met up with Danny. He was inking Spawn. I met up with him just after he worked with Capullo. My first Spawn issue as his assistant was issue 104. All right, I especially love this hatching here. Now the same thing would apply. He would have inked the nose and these couple lines here, and then these 3 thin lines there. So we're shaping the nose area and everything. Let's get that in focus if we can. And then he would have gone in and done these long ones, let that dry, and then come back in and do those cross hatches there. Let's also make sure we admire these Bernie Wrightston style render lines in this shadow of the eye socket. Could almost imagine those being rocks or stones in a Bernie Wrightston image. Bernie would have used a fatter pen or a brush. Danny's using a very sharp 102. Excuse my ink covered squishy thing, but just to give you scale. Alright, and we've already talked about how well Danny does the hair and how well he does background lines. But let's take a look at that. Reflective surfaces. Excuse me. You can see the thicker lines to thin, the thin to thick. Moves around, bounces beautifully. Goes back over with a little bit of white, bloopity bloops. Look at that shiny metallic surface compared to this crusty dude. So you got some nice texture work going on. Look at that, just in this one image, the cloth feels like cloth. This feels metallic. The porcelain feels like porcelain. And he feels like a crusty dude. That great hand. All right, there we go. There you got it. That's all you're gonna get, except for, you know what? I want to zoom in. Let's get this light bulb. I love that little light bulb. So let me know if you like this. Let me know if you got any questions below. I'll answer them as soon as possible. I want to do more of these, maybe like once a week. We'll look at some original art. I have a bunch of Mark Silvestri pages in my collection, and I have a bunch of non-Mark Silvestri pages in my collection. So let me know below. And my next video, we're gonna have more inking, and we're gonna get back to work. You know, we gotta build our confidence, gotta get good at this stuff. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy. And if you haven't already, head over to alternaaccess.com and check out the book I wrote, Gods and Gears, with art by Dean Kotz and letters by Wes Loker. Issue 4 is out soon.
Stupid cat.